Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Rivers Tabac Book Club. Today we're talking about The Dark Tower, Book 7, also called the Dark Tower series. Today we're going to cover Part 3. Just as a disclaimer, we say this in every episode. We do talk about spoilers. We treat this as like a real book club, so we assign out a reading and then come back and discuss it. So just so you know, there are going to be spoilers, so if you don't want to avoid those, maybe go back and, we recommend you go back and read before listening to this. And then also, if there's anything that we miss talking about that you want us to talk about, just let us know and we'd be happy to kind of revisit it and see if we can talk about it. We generally just talk about the things that we kind of think are interesting, and we don't necessarily go into super big detail. But we're talking
Yes.
about part 3. Um, and Josh and I were just talking about this off camera, but like I think the main thing we're going to talk about here is obviously Jake. That was like the forefront of most of this part. Um, you know, they go on this journey to save Stephen King, and Roland tries to save Stephen King but isn't able to because of like his arthritis or whatever, and then Jake ends up having to sacrifice himself basically.
Yeah. So I honestly didn't think Jake was gonna die this early
Me either,
in the
man. Me either.
in the end of the book. I thought he was gonna make it all the way to the Dark Tower. So this came as a huge surprise. And then like when they were in the car with uh what's her name? Irene?
Irene, you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. When they were in the car with Irene and they were both like, okay, someone's gonna die, and like I thought it was Oi because I'm like, there's just no way it's gonna be Jake. And then like Roland jumped out of the car and his arthritis kicked in, and then Jake hopped in front. I was just like, holy shit!
Yeah, dude, it was a huge shock to me, man, as well. Because I was like you, I thought if anyone's gonna make it to the end with Roland, it's probably gonna be Jake, or at least get to maybe the edge of the Dark Tower, or at least get to like the final sequence. But yeah, all of a sudden he's just dead. I also thought it was Oi. I thought
Right?
Oi was gonna somehow interject and affect the situation. But yeah, it ended up being Jake, and yeah, it was a big shock. I feel like for this one, so obviously Eddie dying was really sad. But we kind of talked about it in a previous episode. Like it didn't hit as hard as maybe I would expect to. This one hit me a little harder because I was like, it was unexpected for me. In comparison maybe to the Eddie death. I was like, oh, Jake's actually dead. And then they kind of, Stephen King kind of, had dramatic effect with it where he, had Roland thinking like, oh, there's going to be a way to save him. And like, clearly there's not. Like, he starts bleeding out of
Yeah.
his ears and stuff. But,
It's it's almost like at the beginning we kind of always knew Eddie was going to die. So like having that in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, so it didn't hit as hard as like it would, just because I was already preparing for it since like book 3. Uh, but I honestly didn't think Jake was going to die. Like I thought Jake would, because I thought Stephen King was setting something up for like a Jake versus Mordred uh, thing, and at the Dark Tower and everything. So I didn't expect Jake to die, and so that hit me a lot harder too with that. And especially it's like I thought it was just so funny that Roland and is just like, God, fuck you, Stephen King. Fuck you. He's like, if you're
yeah.
writing this, how dare you? And then like at the end of this, when it goes to Stephen King's point of view, he's like, oh, I finally got it, finally wrote it, finished it. It's like he's like, I don't know why Roland's so upset at me. It's not like I wanted him to die. It's just what happens. Like I can't control what the story. The story just comes to me and I write it, and that's just how it is. Uh,
Right.
so I thought that was interesting. Little dialogue there, because that goes to show is like get more into Stephen King's writing style of more like uh when the ideas and stuff come to him, even if he doesn't like where it's going, he has to write it anyway because that's just the story. And like the creative process is very unique in a way to where it's like you could tell if someone's phoning it in. So if Stephen King like tried to write a way into making Jake live, it would come off as kind of like unrealistic and to the situation he had created. You know, it would have felt like a Deus Ex Machina if he fought against it, and no one likes that in stories because I mean, just look at all a bunch of the modern movies and and TV shows. It's like it's boring,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
So it's like
absolutely.
Stephen King just writes it, and the whole even Oi. I thought Oi was gonna stay with him at his grave until he died, but he didn't.
I know.
He
I
went
was
with Roland.
surprised that Oya left. That was like the most depressing part to me. Obviously, me. I have a lot of dogs in my house, so like the idea of your dog finding you like dead is just like really depressing. But the what you talked about with like Stephen King's creative process, I think is really interesting because I think it makes sense that he calls this his magnum opus. I mean, it's got a lot of layers to it, like we've talked about. It's got a lot of different genres that blend together, but it's also a look into, like you said, Stephen King's creative process and how he thinks about stories and how they come to him. And also, I mean, I talked about this in the previous episode, but it's really clever for him to go down this meta route and then actually use like a real life event that happened to him and make it so that he made it seem like, oh, I was supposed to die, but Jake and Roland came and saved me, right? And then of course,
Yeah,
he's Roland hypnotizes him so he doesn't have any memory of it in his like conscious mind. But yeah, it's a clever way to write it, and it's a cool way to see Stephen King's creative process. Like you could get this from an interview, right? Like you could probably watch a few Stephen King interviews and like see how he talks about his creative process and get his ideas on how he approaches it. But it's cool that he kind of shows that already in this story, but it's in a story form, and you see, like you said, he's not going to change the
yeah,
story just to keep Jake alive. He's going to do it how he thinks it should be written, to make it a good story, not just to please, you know, the
yeah,
masses or please himself, right? Obviously, he doesn't want Jake to die either. Um,
yeah.
so
And it, that whole this whole scene, and it shows me that like even in the past, where with the first time like Roland hypnotized him, and Stephen King's like, yeah, I was oh, a spider's icky, like the Red King, the Red Spider, or whatever, because
yeah.
he was like a boy and was sent to the barn and got scared of the spiders. Now I'm wondering if at some point in this final part of the book, if Roland's gonna travel between dimensions again and have to fight Mordred when Stephen King's a kid, like in that barn. And so
Yeah.
and then that's gonna be the reason why Stephen King's afraid of spiders, and Roland's gonna hypnotize him to kind of forget the memory. But
Uh,
it's still gonna linger there a little bit, kind of like these last two times that he's hypnotized him.
Right, yeah, because it's like he can't consciously remember it, but he kind of, has inklings of it. Obviously, even though he was hypnotized. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's
But
clearly hates spiders.
yeah, 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 yeah. it, God, I felt so bad for Roland because Roland, while he's like hypnotizing King, and he's like thinking in his head that I finally had another chance at being a father and having my son
Yeah,
back, and your dumbass took it away from me. It's like I
right.
fucking hate you.
Well, he was
It's
right, like Stephen King, when he said like the rest of this book is gonna be short and brutal. It's definitely lived up to that so far, as far as like
yeah,
brutality. I mean, I like you, I thought Jake would make it to the end, and I thought there's, like you said, maybe a show off between Mordred and Jake, being that they're both like his children essentially, and then or maybe Roland having to decide again between the tower or killing Jake. But
Nope,
It's
never
it
happened.
nope.
You
But
know, you know what?
I should have expected with Stephen King, like he's he's not gonna go down a conventional path for his
Yeah,
stories.
very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And once Jake died, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see the mixed reviews.
Yeah, right? Well, it's like
It's like people have been following
oh
Jake since the
yeah.
fucking when was this written? The 70s, like the
Yeah,
first book.
70s or 80s or
So
whatever.
so it's like at this point, people have been with these people for 30 years, and then they're like, oh, how does Jake die? Oh, he just jumps in front of a car to save Stephen King, and so everyone's I'm like, fuck you, like what the fuck?
It is kind of like a mundane way. Well, it's because it's like back to back to back too, right? Because you have, and I know this one, affects you more. Like the Dark Man just dying.
Yeah, right. That
Just
fucking
fucking
pissed me off.
yeah, just fucking dying really easily to Mordred, and then Eddie just getting shot in the head out of nowhere, and then yeah, Jake just dying, and jumping in front of a car, like a really mundane way to die, no like epic death or anything like that. But kind of like we said with the last episode, that's kind of his style, right? He's not really diverting from his style, I guess, and he's making a point with his creative process that he's not really going to divert from that. But I can, like you said, I can definitely see why people would not like this because it's an epic, long series, and we've been with these characters for so long, so you expect an equally epic death, But with Stephen King, it's just not like that. He's just gonna
Yeah,
kill him.
I mean, it's like reading all Lord of the Rings books, and then you get to Return of the King, and then when it's the final showdown at Mount Doom between like Frodo and Gollum, and like right before they like wrestle for the ring, Gollum trips on a rock, hits his head, and bleeds out. It's
It
like,
is
bro.
kind of like that, or like Gandalf and Aragorn like arrive at the Black Gate, and a troll just like knocks Aragorn's head off and just rips Gandalf in half, and they're just dead. That's it.
Jesus,
It's
that's
like,
fucking brutal.
yeah, well, that's what I'm like. I
Yeah,
mean, that's how it feels with
right.
this. Is like he gets run over by the car. He's like still like talking. He's like bleeding out of his ears. He's like bleeding everywhere. He's like,
The
Father.
Frodo. All right.
Yeah,
So
Frodo.
it's yeah. So it's like I'm starting to see why other people why this book has mixed reviews, and I guess we'll see with the actual conclusion of it. Uh,
Yeah.
so overall, what did I think of Jake's death? But I'm gonna ask you, what did you think? What did you think overall? Did
Oh
you like
man.
it, hate it, indifferent?
I think whether you like it or dislike it is going to be based on your expectations, right? If you're expecting a Lord of the Rings type epic ending, you're just not going to get that with Stephen King. And I think with Jake, I think with Eddie, I wasn't expecting it as much. I think with Eddie, I was expecting him to die not as not with a sequence. I thought he was just gonna die. With Jake, I was like, we're gonna have some kind of sequence that leads to his death. But in this case, I mean, we do have a sequence leading up to his death, but it's very abrupt, and he just gets run over by a car. So
Right.
I'm,
Roland
I'm
didn't even get to talk to him.
I think the best way to describe it is I'm mixed as well. Like I kind of like it. I like some aspects of it. I understand it's Stephen King's more of his style. But I think my expectations were a little bit different. So I think I think I'll say mixed.
All right.
What was your opinion on it?
Well, even though what I wanted to happen didn't happen,
Yeah.
I actually loved this scene.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll explain why. And it's because overall Roland is like the main character that I want to see develop and actually like get to the Dark Tower. Like I love Jake, but I like Roland more. So by having this whole scene where it's like Roland is having to throughout the entire series he's having to put his duty to the tower before anything else. His his son basically uh sacrificed his life to save Stephen King and is now dying dying in the street, and Roland can't even go to comfort him or talk to him because he has to talk to Stephen King and hypnotize him and do all this shit. And so, like, in the back of his mind, he's putting his duty before his family, which I guess you could say is like a digression of his character. But on the other hand, like after once we see the scenes like after Jake dies and he buries him and all that, we get to see the very human side of Roland, of him like crying and being depressed and like all this stuff, and it's like those those are all the scenes and all the emotions that make the death worth it because like for instance in like the new Star Wars sequels, right? Every time they kill off a character, it literally has no impact because no one really gives a shit or knows them. So like when Han Solo died, uh it was with like Chewbacca was like so far away and it was just like the new characters who like just met him. But like if Han died like in front of like Luke or Leia who've literally been with him for decades, then it would have had a bigger impact because those characters had a bigger relationship with that character. So like with Roland and Jake, with Roland already having to deal with sacrificing him the first time, and him even saying that he would not do that again, even at this point, uh, this scene and how it plays out through the rest of part three with Roland's character just for me was fantastic. I love to see like I know it's like dark to say, but it's like, now that if Jake's dead, nothing's gonna stop Roland now. Absolutely nothing can get in his way.
Yeah,
He's an
that's
unstoppable man, and seeing also like the struggle he goes through, and overcoming it is also great. Even so I guess that's why I didn't mind. I don't mind. I don't hate this death.
that's a
Is yeah.
that's a good I'm glad you brought that up in that way because I think the reason I think I don't like it as much is I think I like Jake better than Roland. Just because with Roland, I mean I love Roland's character as well. I love all the characters. I think I just like Jake a little more just because he's a child coming from New York and I like the perspective of like he was torn away from his world and like now he's put in this other world and he has to become a gunslinger and he has to become a murderer and he has to become a crack shot and now he has to take on this quest that he didn't even really ask for that's bestowed upon him and I felt like, he went through all this turmoil and all this trauma to eventually like make it to the Dark Tower and I wanted to see how it would play out with having Jake go to the Dark Tower as well. Like I guess I care about Roland, but like I guess from my perspective, we've seen this character more often, like the relentless like male protagonist, right? Like he's relentless and he's going to do everything he can to accomplish his goal. And I feel like I've seen that more in other series and I haven't seen it as often where you have this child who isn't a child anymore because he had to go through all that trauma and got torn from his world. And I wanted to see how it would play out if he actually makes it to the Dark Tower and what Stephen King had in store with it. But I think, like you said, it was done well, which is why I'm not like that upset with it. I think it was done really well. Like you said, it showed the real human side of Roland. It showed like real emotions, and it affected me as well, like having Jake die and everything. So, and it worked with the story as well. So yeah, but
Yeah. I mean, if
it
I could say that I would rather have Jake alive, then of course I'd rather have him alive. But I feel like the death wasn't wasted.
yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was done well. I think it just lends to like what my expectations were. You can't like I tried my best to like not have. expectations, because I know it's really tough like writing this stuff, but in general this story has been really good. This series has been amazing anyway. But I try not to have expectations, but when Jake just fucking died getting ran over by the car, I was like, "Oh yeah, I really did have that expectation of like Jake will make it to the Dark Tower and we'll have some kind of sequence." But yeah, no. I thought it was done fine. But
Yeah.
we do have we do have a little bit of comic relief where Roland asks Stephen King if he's gay, and this is just so funny because like I know we've been talking about like it's like a case study on Stephen King's creative process and how he writes stories, but it's also a case study of like the shit Stephen King has to deal with like the previous books where he was talking about like people writing him letters being like I'm literally going to die, I'm a cancer patient, like you have to finish this series before I die, like letters like
Yeah.
that. And then he has like this scene too where Roland's asking him if he's gay, and I'm sure like he's gotten that question so often because I know that we've talked about how often he puts penises in his
Because
stories.
he keeps describing he describes the cocks like
All the
in
time. And
great
I don't
detail.
believe his ass, dude. I don't believe
Like I
him.
don't
I don't believe that like he put this scene in there to like almost be like, all right, everyone, I answered the question. You don't have to keep asking me now. I'm not gay. But I'm like, I don't know, man.
I don't
A
believe
little
you.
bit. At least like I feel like he at least dreams about it sometimes. I know he said it in here. He's like, I only dream about women. I'm like, all right.
Well, it might be like I don't know, maybe the cock has something to do with like horror where it's like a big masculine rod could just absolutely destroy you, curved like a scimitar.
Meat. Yeah,
So so it's
pistons, man, they got a
a
lot of
meat
force.
blade.
A meat candle, yeah. Yeah,
So
maybe he does just use it for like shock, but I don't know.
like because like there is a horror to like a big like in a fucking key through the wind through the keyhole,
Hmm.
like there is a horror to like this big monster that can basically like rip you apart and just like
Oh yeah,
fuck you
no,
till
for
you die.
sure.
And
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
there is like a horror to that. So when he describes the monster's dong, it's like yeah, it's funny, but it's also like if you were in that situation where like you were that helpless woman
Yeah,
being ripped apart and fucked, that's horrific.
yeah, no,
that's literally
absolutely.
that's literally like horror at its finest. So it's like
Yeah.
uh but then like then you get scenes like in the stand and the stand, yeah, where did did I at least play you that scene?
You did,
I think I
yes.
remember,
You
yeah.
did.
So it's like I'm not gonna go into detail on this scene here, but like it's just because for people who haven't read it, but it's like with that one, I guess it does have some sort of horror to it, but
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think that's still,
as it's still horror
scary.
because the way it happens with the gun and everything.
Yeah.
But someone who hasn't read it are just like, what the fuck? What are they talking about? Read the book, chapter
Right.
48. Anyway, but so yeah, it's like, and then with Mordred, right? With when he comes out as like a demon baby, and he said like his wiener was like huge and erect for a baby, and it's like, yeah, that's also funny, but it goes to show that how unnatural this thing is
Yeah.
because that's not a normal thing, you know.
Right.
What are other like he has one in like
I guess
every
I think
book.
about like the scenes where like those scenes make sense for like the horror aspect. It's definitely like rape is obviously like one of the biggest fears among I think both men and women. But like with the like scenes like in the first book where like the monsters are just trying to grab Jake's crotch or whatever, they're like reaching for his dick. It's just
Well, I
you
don't think
know
they're actually reaching
I
for his
mean,
dick
but
though.
like, just like, why do
I
we
think
need to do that?
I think Well, I think Stephen King just described it in a weird way,
Well,
where he's like,
yeah, I just,
the
I
mutants are
just,
they're thrusting
maybe
towards
he's not.
Jake's leg.
Yeah, I just, those scenes too are it's just
I
funny.
get it.
It's just
It's
funny that he put the scene in here, like
yeah. Well, it's
seemingly
obviously
because
on
he
his mind.
obviously thinks about it a lot, or people ask him about it a lot. So it's kind of funny.
He's Stephen King is a little homoerotic.
He is. He
There.
doesn't.
I
It's
mean,
all
he
good,
may
man. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
I'm
he
just
may not be
curious.
gay. He may not be gay, but he is homoerotic.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a self-insert.
He's at least interested. He's at least interested. Maybe he wouldn't partake, but I think he thinks. I mean, I
Maybe
like
it's a power fantasy.
maybe I don't know.
Where it's like, yeah, you like that happy crappy,
That one, yeah, definitely was.
but I can say, uh, has there been there's been a cock described in this book yet, right?
I'm
Has
trying
there?
to think. Yeah, this book has been the least cock infused, I think, of the series. Right? I don't think we've had that many dicks. I
uh,
mean, Mordred
oh
talks
wait,
about
no,
how he
there
wants
was.
to fuck everything when he's a spider, but
Oh yeah, we did get that
we
one.
did get
He
that
wants.
part.
Uh, there was the that hologram area
Oh
where they like
yeah,
fuck the
okay,
women.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, never mind.
so
We
never
got plenty of
mind. Never
dick.
mind.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was never mind. There was dick in this book.
Still doesn't it doesn't seem as I feel like it's still less than the other books, at least
Yeah.
frequency wise.
Oh, you just wait till we get to
Oh no! Until we get to the Dark
the
Tower is just gonna be just
the
walls of dildos. That's all it's gonna be
oh, this
inside.
is
And
get to
each
the
level they get bigger until you get to the tippy top.
well. What do you think a dark tower is? It's a BBC.
Yeah, dog. Let's go. Oh man.
Oh my god. Well, okay, so yeah, he's homoerotic. He may not be gay, but he's homoerotic. End of
Absolutely.
discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
But
so
yeah,
should
go
we
ahead.
talk? Do you want to talk about Irene a little bit, or just be like, or just kind of whatever?
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of touch on it a little bit. There's not like a ton in this part, so I guess we could just touch on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
like Roland Irene. I feel like he has these I'll call them like side sex quests, like every other book where he just like he's just a badass, obviously. So like he just attracts. I mean, it's like a western, right? Like he
Yeah.
just he's the cowboy badass, and women want to
Yeah.
fuck him. So
Yeah. He's
he's the
strong,
James.
powerful. He's a fucking gunslinger.
Yeah,
He's a
man.
crusader.
Oh
Women are
yeah.
gonna want to fuck him,
He's a
regardless if
James
he's
Bond of like Stephen
crusty.
King's, universe basically. And like but yeah, so we have another person that wants to fuck him.
Yeah.
I thought
This.
it was kind of it was kind of cringe because it was like he was like super depressed and she was like really wanting to have sex with him and he could sense that she wanted to. So like he had sex with her but like he wasn't really into it and she could even like sense that because he was just like really depressed about Jake and
Yeah.
Eddie. So it's just like I guess it's another like character moment where again, we're like Roland is reduced to his very human form where it's like, he cares about the tower so much but he's had to deal with all this loss. And but just
And
the Stephen King way of putting another sexual twist on it, I guess. But
yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
What's like it goes to show that like Roland, well, isn't it like because he's the gunslinger, he's willing to help people in any way he can. Just like before they helped the Kala with the wolves, he's like, we're gonna help them regardless. So it's like regardless if they give us what they want. So
Yeah,
she wants some dick, and he's like,
he's got to
we're gonna have to
provide.
help her out no matter the cost.
He's got to provide. Yeah,
But
it's
what
and
was
or go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying was like weird about this one for me is that she's like married and doesn't feel like her husband cares about her too much.
Uh
So she like leaves to take Roland on this to the rose, and she cheats on her husband.
Right.
And then her husband cares that she's at the end of her whole thing. She's like, "Oh, I can't wait to go see my husband again." And I'm like, "Well, I hope if he finds out, he divorces your cheating ass. Like, fuck you."
Yeah, it was an interesting story, because it's like I don't know where he got the inspiration for this because obviously a lot of the things he writes about he gets inspiration from something. I wonder where he got inspiration from this. Maybe someone he knows or something.
Maybe,
Who I mean, this sounds like a very relatable story where like you have a wife who isn't really in love with her husband anymore. The husband isn't really care that much either anymore, and they've been married a long time, and like they're just kind of going through the motions at this point. And even she kind of mentions like, I don't think I could divorce him, but it'd be a lot of work. Like it's almost like a chore at this point, to just be together. I think that's probably like, but I wonder where he got inspiration for it. But yeah, no, it's definitely kind of fucked,
yeah,
literally and figuratively.
literally. Maybe maybe he got it from like his own life because like he writes a
Maybe, yeah,
lot, you know. So, but what if he's just like too indulged in his work, and maybe the idea came to him to where he's like, do I spend enough time with my wife? Do I spend enough time with my children? Do I work too much?
yeah,
Because it almost seems like this story is telling us the opposite, that he's lazy and like he will write like three books at the same time because he can't stick to one, and then he just pushes off the Dark Tower because he is lazy with it. So it's like he's so focused on his work but not like this work. But then like it goes to show in other scenes with Stephen King that he does hang out with his family a lot, does care for his wife. So but I'm wondering if he just got the inspiration from this whole wife scene to be like, what if I was too indulged in my work, uh, so much that my wife didn't really love me anymore because I am not giving her the attention that she needs, and she just goes off for 3 days and I don't know what she's doing, you know?
yeah, for
What would she
sure.
do? Like
Or
I don't know.
maybe,
This
or
is
like
just
maybe he
guessing.
knows someone, like maybe a wife's friend, or maybe one of his friends, and he just changed it from like a male to a female, or yeah, something. But it was like a very specific backstory to put in that makes me think that he thought about it, like you said, or like he knows someone who maybe this
Yeah.
happened. Um,
I do I do think a really really good scene came from this whole interaction was when they after they're in the hotel and they're in separate rooms or whatever, and she's like, oh, I can't hear him, but she's like, I want to go over there, and
hmm
like he's not over there, and she like sees him sitting on the side of the street with Oi, and she goes up to him, and he turns around and he's just like absolutely distraught. He's destroyed emotionally, him and Oi, and it's like
right,
the image I have in my head like started making me tear up. I'm like, oh my god! And then Roland's just like, I'm afraid to go to sleep because I'm afraid I'll see all my dead friends,
yeah,
and I'm just like, oh my fucking god! And that scene got me. And then they went and laid down, and obviously he's not going to be in the mood to bang, and she is, but they don't do anything. And the way they describe it, because they talk about all of Roland's scars, and then it's like Roland cuddles up next to her, but obviously he's not in the mood to go because she can like feel it, feel his cock, and he just he just wraps his arm around. It's like then he like cups her boob, whatever, and then they talk about her scar. Apparently, she had like a C-section or something. I can't remember. No, I can't remember what they
I think it
said.
was breast
What it
cancer. They had to
was,
like
breast
cut part of
cancer.
it
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
So so he's like they both have scars from battles, and it was like oh that's cool. Stephen King thrown in that representation. Let's go.
let's go.
So, but anyway, that whole scene was like fucking got me because I'm just like, this is a man who's losing everything for the third time.
exactly, because he's gone through this before with the fall of Gilead and all his friends dying, and then before that, Susan dying. So yeah, this is the third time of him going through just re- incredible trauma. And at this point in the story, honestly, man, I'm like, yeah, you feel so bad for him at this point, and he's so tortured. It's like just get to the Dark Tower, and then like whatever you got to do, and then just die, honestly, because it's like you just deserve to like rest at this point, because it's like he's got all the arthritis, he's missing fingers, he's had to go through so much trauma. It's like, man,
Well,
it's
I
rough.
do feel like this is where it's ending. Like I think everybody's going to die, and Roland's gonna
Yeah,
save the world, but die
yeah, and
last,
then
and then
die.
they're all gonna be reunited in the clearing.
Yeah, that would be a nice
So
way to do it. But yeah, definitely
yeah,
the way it's been, yeah, being spun right now, it definitely seems like they're all just gonna probably die.
which
Except
at this
Oi, let's
point,
go. No, I'm
I
just
think
kidding.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me
Just
too.
Toadash and see them again.
Right, dude?
There are more other worlds than these.
Yeah.
But Ben, what do you think of the? We don't have to go through the entirety of like the rose scene, but like
Yeah.
it's been building up for this rose the whole time, and I'm honestly a little confused, a little bit. I'm like, so what the fuck was the point in protecting this rose? Was it just because it's like pure positive energy to counteract negative energy,
Yeah,
or like
I was a little
was that the
confused by
gist
it
of it?
too, because yeah, like obviously we have that scene where he meets up with some of the people who been creating the corporation to fight the bad corporation. But yeah, it's kind of confusing because it's like we have to keep this rose alive, and I know like in the other books they kind of talked about how if the rose falls or whatever, then the Dark Tower will die too or whatever, so they have to keep it. But yeah, I don't really understand the significance of it other than they need to keep it alive.
Yeah, because it's like around like the tower they made in New York is now
Yeah,
guarding the flower, so it's
right.
it's its own tower. So now we got like two towers. Uh, so
Lord of the
yeah,
Rings,
Lord of the
baby.
Rings. God damn it! Like
I mean, it's
it always
definitely,
comes back to
it does,
Tolkien.
man. All modern fantasy, it derives a little bit from it. I feel like so.
Yeah. So yeah. So now we have two towers. One good. Well, technically, the Dark Tower is said to be good. It's just they're breaking it down.
Hmm.
So it's yeah. So like this whole scene, like Roland gets a watch. They give him the book Insomnia, which like has a reference to the Dark Tower, but
Yeah,
they don't end up reading it or whatever. Like
yeah, and that was like
you know,
pretty much it. Honestly, like I didn't.
you don't really care about the tower
Yeah,
part,
I didn't really care about this section. I mean, I understand why it was in there just to like tie up this loose end. I do appreciate Stephen King like tying up loose ends, like hey, remember like when we created this corporation to, like protect the rose, like that exists and like it's
yeah,
they did all this stuff to do it. So like that question is answered, but yeah, I just like you said, like we've talked about in other episodes, I think if we reread this, I would be more interested in this stuff. But like, I'm just ready to get to the tower. So it's like
right? Oh my fucking god, I'm
just
ready
ready
to
to
get
get
to
to the
the
fucking
tower.
tower. Yeah, man.
So yeah, just yeah, and honestly, my one of my favorite parts about this section was when like after Jake died and Oi was now with Roland,
Hmm.
and you could kind of tell that Stephen King was forgetting about Oi for a little bit
Yeah.
because he like never mentioned him, and he was like through Roland's perspective, and then he's like, oh yeah, and Oi's been along this whole time too. And he's like, because like when Jake's around, Jake and Oi, it's like Jake's taking care of Oi,
Yeah.
but Roland wasn't doing that because Roland was taking care of Jake, not Oi. So as it like goes down the line when Jake died, Roland wasn't really thinking about Oi, and Oi was just kind of tagging along. So you'd get to parts where Roland's like, "Oh yeah, and Oi's been with us too." I kind of,
Yeah. Right.
I didn't,
I feel
so
like Oi might survive just because Stephen King like just doesn't care now, and like forgets about him. Maybe he'll just live.
Yeah. Roland meets up with Susanna,
Yeah.
and Shimi's dead. We all knew Shimi was gonna die. All
Yeah,
right,
okay,
let's
and
be honest.
this also contributes to like I understand like the mixture of views now as well with this because it's like okay he arrives and we knew Shimi was gonna die based off of like he stepped on the glass and then literally Stephen King said he was gonna die because of that and it was like I was like why did we need to do that I guess like why didn't you just have him open a portal again he just dies from the portal like why did we have to have this weird infection from the glass that kills him, not that. And because even Roland literally asks that, he's like, "Did he just die from exertion?" And Suzanne was like, "Oh no, he just stepped on some glass." I'm like, "Why? I don't."
I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I was like, "What? What the fuck?" I was like, and then it was
That's
also like they brought him back into the story, and then he's got this great power, but he's obviously mentally challenged. But yeah, I don't know why he didn't just die from exertion. It was kind of weird. And,
well, why did Jake die by getting run over by a car saving Stephen
well,
King? Like
that makes more sense, man, because like somebody had to take the fall to save Stephen King. With this, you have an easy way to kill Shimi off. You can just say he overexerted himself and died. Why did we have to have a whole section of the book earlier on where like I remember like Shimi gets out of the fucking like building and he's like, "Oh, we won." And then he steps on the glass and then Stephen King is like, "That's how he's gonna die."
that's
And I'm
it's
like, I don't why.
That's honestly fucking hilarious.
It
It's
is
like
kind of funny.
I feel like it's like expect the unexpected type of
Yeah.
thing. It's like you it's like what you think is gonna happen is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
so so now it's like,
Uh,
dude, I have no fucking idea what's gonna happen. Dude, I
yeah,
literally I literally have no fucking clue because we still now at least we have Susanna and Oi. There's Mordred, and it's just the Crimson King, and that's it. Like
yeah, word.
everyone else has died or fucked off, and
It's the home stretch. It's the home stretch.
yeah. So I guess that's all I really have for this part.
Yeah,
If we ever do like a reread or something, maybe we could go more into detail about stuff. But I think we talked about like what we wanted to talk about.
yeah, I agree. I think we hit the major points there. But yeah, maybe next time we would talk about more details. But I think we hit the major points and kind of our thoughts on the death and stuff. So all right, I'll kind of wrap it up here, I guess. So we're going to cover the Dark Tower Book 7 Part 4 next week. But like we said earlier, if there's anything we missed here and you want us to talk about it, just let us know and we can definitely, revisit it and talk about it. But we'll see you next week.